Good evening and welcome to the Ogden City Council for Tuesday, July 9th, 2013. Let the roll call reflect that all council members are present. We'd also like to recognize that former police chief Greiner is in the audience. Welcome. We'll now turn the time over to Vice Chair Garner to then lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Would everyone please rise and repeat after me? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Now we'd ask that you join us in a moment of silence. Thank you. Next on the agenda is a recognition for John A. Lindquist Day, and Vice Chair Garner will read that joint proclamation.
Thank you. And we do welcome the Lindquist family who's here with us tonight, and it's an honor for me to read this. Proclaiming July 14th, 2013 as John A. Lindquist Day in Ogden City. Whereas John A. Lindquist was born on July 14, 1919, he grew up in Ogden City and attended Ogden Public Schools, Weber College, and the San Francisco School of Mortuary Science. On May 19, 1943, John married Talitha Tida Ellis. They became the parents of 7 children and grandparents to 29 grandchildren and 38 great-grandchildren. And whereas John was a hardworking man with many admirable characteristics, including integrity, intelligence, compassion, and perseverance, at the young age of 15, the death of his father and the economic challenges of the Great Depression left his family's business on the edge of bankruptcy. John began helping his mother to support their family, and because of his incredible work ethic, Lindquist Mortuaries expanded into a thriving community resource. He served many years as president, CEO, and chairman of the board of Lindquist Corporations. He never retired and continued assisting with funerals well into his 90s. And whereas he served in the Army and the Army Air Corps and earned multiple prestigious awards, including the designation of Major, Distinguished Flying Cross, Air Medal with 6 oak leaf clusters, European African Medal, Middle Eastern Campaign Ribbon, with 5 bronze campaign stars and the American Theater Ribbon. He also aided in the establishment of the Air Force Heritage Foundation and Aerospace Museum at Hill Air Force Base. And whereas John was devoted to family, education, country, and the Ogden community, innumerable contributions have been provided through John and Talitha's generosity. These contributions have been instrumental for the construction of the Eccles Conference Center, restoration of the Perry's Egyptian Theater and Union Station, adding a brontosaurus to the Eccles Dinosaur Park, and sponsoring symphony performances and the annual concert and fireworks show at Weber State University. And whereas he helped to establish the Weber County and Ogden Industrial Development Corporations to stimulate economic growth, he served on and chaired numerous community boards and was president and district governor of the Exchange Club and president of the Ogden-Weber Chamber of Commerce. Recognized outside of Utah for his outstanding leadership and abilities, he served on the Pacific Core Board and was elected by his professional colleagues as president of the National Selected Morticians. And whereas, having a strong commitment to education, John served on Weber State University boards for the College of Business and Economics, Alumni Association, the Wildcat Club, National Advisory Council, and the Board of Trustees. He raised and contributed funding for land purchases, student scholarships, faculty fellowships, athletics, buildings, landscaping, and degree development beginning in 1950. And whereas John was given the Commitment to Ogden Award, the Minuteman Award, and inclusion on the Weber County Registry of Honor, he and Talitha received many joint honors, as well as including the Chamber of Commerce Wall of Fame Award, the designation as honorary Grand Marshals of the Pioneer Day Parade, Governor's Award in the Arts, the statewide Philanthropic Leadership Award, and the Noteworthy Award by Ogden Symphony Ballet. And whereas, in a commencement address to Weber State students, John said, "If you have had the privilege of living in Ogden, you have to pay your dues. You give back to your community however you can through service, business, and donations." John's life exemplified this as he gave back to the community throughout his entire life. Now therefore be it resolved that the Ogden City Council and Mayor Michael P. Caldwell hereby proclaim July 14th, 2013 as John A. Lindquist Day in Ogden City. We recognize the unparalleled contributions that he made to Ogden City and are genuinely grateful for the extensive service that he has provided. His presence will be sorely missed in our community, but his profound legacy will continue on. And with that, I'll make a motion that we adopt this proclamation.
I'll second.
We have a motion from Vice Chair Garner to adopt this joint proclamation proclaiming July 14th, 2013 as John A. Lindquist Day, and a second from Councilmember Heyer. This is a voice vote. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? That passes.
So we'll invite members of the family to come up and we'll present this plaque to them and give them a moment to say whatever they would like to.
Hand that to the son. She's pretty heavy. Or the wife, yeah, the daughter.
That's a heavy thing, yes.
So like that. Do you want this? The box? If you want to save that. Thank you so much. Thanks for being here.
You mean we don't get to shake your hands? Catherine?
Through, please, would you? Please do.
Thank you very much. Thank you so much.
I don't know if she got it. Do you want?
Do you want to say something, or your mom, or Talitha?
You want us to pose, Amy Sue?
Yes.
Yeah, we can get a picture of everyone.
I'm right up.
The mayor over. Oh, no, I will push everything down. We'll make sure that she's in the picture. Yes, okay, I'm gonna take two. 1, 2, 3. Do one more. 1, 2. Sorry. Thank you.
We'd love to hear from someone. Did she say no?
Okay.
Keep her astonished.
So while you guys are sitting down, I have to add my 2 cents. I mean, you know, listening to that proclamation and looking at this family, I mean, John did well, and you guys are all amazing products and lead from the front on everything. So thanks for coming and sharing with us, because I'm sure you're all worn out.
And this is a joint proclamation. We'd love to let the mayor speak on that also.
Sure, it's been amazing to see not any just one thing that you've all done for this community, but the collection of everything. When you look at all of that combined, it's overwhelming. I thought about this a little bit today, and I thought it's really a lifetime defined by service to God, family, country, and community. We're all so much better for his influence in our community and for your all being here. Think of the economic, education, art, and cultural commitments that have been made and sacrifices and things that we've all enjoyed and appreciated. John was a pillar of strength during difficult times of sorrow and loss for personal people through the mortuary, people grieving, everything else. He was also a symbol of hope. And I think inspiration, having won what I believe is probably every single civic recognition or award that the state has to give. When you read through that list, I can't imagine there's not one he didn't earn and deserve. So thank you all for what you've done in this community and for staying present and staying involved in Ogden. It is a great place, and it's so much better so because of your influence and because of John. So thank you all.
We also have President White here from the university. We'd love to let you say a few words also, if you're willing.
Well, John was thank you. John was a terrific friend to the university and to the community, and this entire family has been such great supporters of Weber State over the years. It's just amazing. So I'm delighted to be here and for this recognition of John A. Lindquist Day on Sunday, and I'm just really looking forward to a tremendous Pops concert and the continuation of this great community tradition. So thank you all.
Thank you. It truly is a community tradition, the Pops concert that you all have started, and we all enjoy it very much. Thank you. Any other comments from council members?
I'd just like to say, Mr. Lindquist was kind of a giant in our community. He did so many great things. And I think it's hard to find somebody in Ogden who hasn't had him there when they've had a loss in their family, too. And so, and he helps so many people on, a human level. And we just are really thankful to have somebody like him in our community and all of his family, and just want to thank you for all you've done over the years.
And I think it's appropriate, that this Sunday is his birthday, and we can truly sing him happy birthday and wish him well, and thank you. I've been friends with members of the Lindquist family for many, many years. I don't want to say how many. But also had the opportunity to work with some great people at the mortuary with very many families, and it was an honor to be there and have their support, so thank you.
And I think John really believed the statement that he gave to the graduates, that it was a privilege for him to live in Ogden. And he needed to pay his dues. Of all of us who live in Ogden need to pay our dues, and he contributed by donations and service and his business to integrity. And so he believed that. And that's a standard for all of us to go forward as all citizens of this great community.
I'd like to join my comments with Vice Chair Garner and the experiences that I had with the Lindquists, working with people that had tragedy in their lives. I was very impressed by the ethics that were just displayed. There was a young man who had committed suicide at a very young age, and the Lindquist mortuary came forth to provide everything that they could do at no profit for themselves. And I was just amazed and that happened on 3 occasions that I had knowledge of. And I thought, boy, what a good example of how to be there for others and be selfless. And I just very much appreciate the Lindquists as well.
Again, thank you all for being here.
Sometimes we always think of the big things we see people do and the broad shoulders that they carry, but I also think it's very important to understand the little things that have been done not only by family members, but by John. And I think that's very telling of the little things that get done that help our community and help people along the way. And thank you for that.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thanks again.
Thank you.
With that, we'll move on to the approval of minutes. First is the minutes of the regular meeting of May 7th, 2013. Councilmember Heyer.
Chair Blair, I have reviewed those minutes, found them to be accurate, and would make a motion that we approve those minutes.
I second it.
We have a motion from Councilmember Heyer to adopt the minutes, and a second from Councilmember Stevens. This is a voice vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That passes. Next up are two items under common consent. First is the budget amendment for the accept for review the FY 2013 budget carry forward of $60,000, and the second is the proposed ordinance 2013 for the budget for the fiscal year July 1, 2013, by increasing anticipated revenues and appropriations for a gross increase of $60,000.
To set the public hearing.
And to set the public hearing for July 30th, 2013.
I'll make a motion that we accept these two items for common consent.
I'll second.
We have a motion from Vice Chair Garner to accept the two items under common consent, and a second from Councilmember Heyer. This is a voice vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That passes. Next up, we have Mr. Grover here to give us reports from the Planning Commission, outdoor storage in the M1 and M2 zones.
Chair, members of the council, the petition request for this item was to look at contractor storage as a sole use on a standalone lot in the manufacturing, specifically the M1 zone. The Planning Commission reviewed this item, and as they looked at this, they had some concerns about allowing this in all M1 zones. They also looked at the possibility of allowing it in M2 zones, but they wanted to look at it in certain areas because of the impact that this could have in our manufacturing zones, taking up valuable industrial area for just outdoor storage. So when we started looking at this, we assessed the different areas in the city where we do have storage for contractors specifically, and a big concentration of this is found in the Cap Industrial Park and in that vicinity. And so what we have done and what's being proposed by the Planning Commission is to look at a specific area to allow for specific contractor storage where they can have 80% of the lot in storage area, and then the other portion you would need to have landscaped and elements associated like that. So the areas that they have looked at is 3300 South to the south, and then Hinckley Drive to the north, and then Pennsylvania Avenue going to the west, and then 1600 West. And 1600 West, to give you an idea, is just before the railroad tracks in that area. So it would encompass that area, and so that's the area that's being proposed. They did look at possibly entertaining going to 1900, but they said no to that because of possible development that could happen in that area once it is incorporated. That specific area is not incorporated, and there's areas within this boundary too that is not incorporated into the city. They also looked at requiring that the parent company be located in Ogden City, and I believe the current language is the main business being located in the city. And in this situation, they would be meeting the intent of that. Out in the Cap Industrial Park, they do have their offices out there. In fact, they're doing an expansion to that area right now that has received site plan approval, just for your information. With all that being said, one of the big things is they did not want it to appear as a junk and salvage yard, and contractor storage limits that. It would not allow for the ability to have a junk and salvage yard. It would just be limited to contractor storage that's associated for that specific contractor. And we have had other businesses in the city that have had contractor yards, and we haven't had any problems with them, knock on wood, and we hope that continues. But we feel that this is giving the business owner in Ogden the ample opportunity to expand if they so desire and keep them in Ogden City. And it would be just limiting them to a certain area so that it's not going all throughout the manufacturing areas, because that is not the intent. They want to make sure that we are preserving our manufacturing areas for their vital use and their roles. But in this area, we do have a lot of contractor storage yards, and so that's why the Planning Commission recommended approval of it just in this area with those specific conditions.
Okay. Any questions for Mr. Grover?
I have two, or just one. Can you review the setback and also the landscaping requirements for
Yes.
the procedure in this?
In the M2 zone, there would be a 20-foot landscape setback that's required along the public street, and the right-of-way would also be required to be landscaped in addition to that setback area. In the M1, excuse me, that is, and in the M2, it's 10 feet. So, and then there's also street trees that are required in the right-of-way as well.
And they stack units above the fence line, or do they have to be right at the fence
They would
line?
not be able to do that. It would just be at the fence line, and the screening fence and the contractor storage is required to go around all four sides. And I went out and looked at the contractor storage areas that are in the city, out in the Cap Industrial Park, and they all have screening around all four sides.
Has the fencing got a minimum and maximum height?
It's required to be 6 feet.
Required to be 6. Can it be higher?
It
Or
could be, yeah.
up to?
It doesn't have, an actual height requirement, but
Okay.
once it goes over 7 feet, a building permit is required.
Okay, thank you.
I have one question for you. Mr. Jardine was the petitioner. Is he here, or is anyone representing him here? Do you know?
I'm not
Okay.
sure.
Okay. Perfect. Okay.
Other questions?
Thank you.
We'd like to allow you the time to speak on behalf of Mr. Jardine.
Brad Layton, actually Brother Jardine. Mr. Jardine and I are business partners. The purpose of our doing this is we've actually grown into the industrial park over there. We own a piece right around the corner which houses 2 buildings presently, and we are working on adding a 3rd building. And we have an office there also, and it's just the best place for us to expand. But because of that, we need this extra area, so we have purchased a piece just around the corner for our contract storage, which would just be generators, and wouldn't be anything that would be high, but just pieces of equipment that we can house in this area. So our hope is to continue to expand our business, and the Cap Industrial Park has been sort of the main hub for our logistics there, bringing material and office and receiving and that sort of thing. So, thank you.
Thank you.
We will now receive public input on this issue.
Seems there's no public input. I'll make a motion that we adopt proposed ordinance 2013-37.
I'll second it.
Mr. Chair, I disclosed in our work session that our families are very close, my family and the Jardine family, but I received no financial contributions from that. So,
We have a motion from Vice Chair Garner to adopt proposed ordinance 2013-37 and a second from Councilmember Wicks. This is a roll call vote.
Councilmember Gochner?
Aye.
Councilmember Heyer?
Aye.
Councilmember Stevens?
Aye.
Councilmember Van Hoosier?
Aye.
Councilmember Wicks?
Aye.
Vice Chair Garner?
Aye.
Chair Blair?
Aye, that passes. Next is public comments. This is an opportunity to address the council regarding your concerns or ideas. Please state your name and address for the record and limit your comments to 3 minutes. In this form of government, all city personnel are the responsibility of the administration, not of the council. Please discuss any concerns you may have regarding staff with the mayor, chief administrative officer, or department directors.
Hi, my name is John Gullo. I'm trustee of the American Dream Foundation. I would like to start off by thanking all of you for what you do. Having served on the school board, I know the time and work and hours get lengthy at times, and I'd like to take this opportunity to thank you for what you do. 13 years ago, we came to the city and offered to do a program called the Hot Rockin' Fourth to celebrate the heritage, promote our city, and raise money for charity. I believe it is one of the city's most successful, long-running promotions that's been here. It is funded by private money. We have never asked or solicited or received funds from the city to do this event. I'm here to tell you about something that is the most exciting thing I think that's coming to Ogden, and invite you personally next week to come to the Ogden pickleball area at Ogden Park for the first annual United States Pickleball Association sanctioned tournament. It'll be on the 18th, 19th, and 20th. We have right now 225 people from all over the country and Canada coming to participate in this tournament. The reason that is most exciting is that we are running an open class in this tournament, which has never been done before. We are creating professional pickleball. When I met with the mayor, I explained to him that if this is successful, we can make Ogden Wimbledon, because this has never been done before. We are offering cash prizes of over $18,000 to the winners in men's doubles, singles, and mixed doubles. 35 people from all over the country. We are right now, through the grapevine, through Facebook and everything else within the pickleball community, the talk of the country, because we are taking pickleball to the next level. And this has never been done before, and we're the first ones doing it. Play will be during the day on the 18th and 19th. Men's and women's doubles on the 18th. On the 19th will be mixed doubles. At 7 o'clock at night, we will have the medal rounds. If you really want to have some fun and really see some great play, come there between 7 and 9 o'clock at night on those 2 nights to see the greatest players that you've ever seen in this game. I let you know that this has really gotten to be a big thing in this area. We were the first ones on the block. There are now pickleball courts in North Ogden, Riverdale, Washington Terrace just got an approval to put courts in, Kaysville, Clearfield. It's just growing and blowing all over the place. There are over 250 members of the Ogden Pickleball Association. We can be the site of the National Pickleball Open, right here, right where it ought to be. On Monday, Channel 2 from 6 to 8 o'clock will be promoting this event on its television station live from the tournament, from the grounds. There'll be 4 2.5-minute segments. We hope to have more coverage by the time the weekend runs out. I've brought some information to give you right now to tell you about the tournament. There's a video, there's other stuff that's happening, and there's also a box of paddles and balls here. We have open play Monday, Wednesday, Friday, Saturday mornings, Tuesday and Thursday nights. Come out, play. It's the most social, fun, family game you'll ever be part of. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, John.
Thank you, Mr. Gullo.
Good evening. My name's Jim Larkin. I reside at 3038 Polk Avenue, and I'm here to address the issue regarding the complete removal of all the trees from the Mount Ogden Senior Housing Project. To be fairly brief, I think many of you may have seen the article in the newspaper that occurred Saturday, so I'm grateful for the standard that they at least took the time and produced the article, call it to people's attention. Appreciate your time in taking a look at this issue. Many of you I've known for a long time, and many of you live in that neighborhood, so no stranger there. I'd be quite certain that you've seen it. So the article addressed a few items, but clearly does not get into depth as to what went wrong and why. Okay. So let me just address the few slides that you have there in front of you. That picture is the same one that was printed in the Standard Examiner. That was one that I contributed to them. The way that came about was last Wednesday morning, about 11:30. I was returning to work from lunch, and as I went up there, I thought, well, they're trimming those trees, which they do regularly. And then I thought, no, they're not. They're taking them out completely. And I was not challenged, as the newspaper said, which is not a correct quote. I was shocked. I was stunned. I couldn't believe it. Okay, so I swung around, took a few pictures with my cell phone, went down by Ogden High, pulled up in the parking lot, called the Standard Examiner, said, I know you guys have done some articles on this, so what's going on? Now, I just live, for those of you who don't know, I only live about 100 yards down the hill from this project. Mr. Fredrickson, who will speak in a minute, lives directly across the street, and I'm sorry for him for that. It's been going on for a while, but anyway, the long and the short of it is, in the minute and a half I have left, this is the picture. I sent them several pictures. I had hoped they would publish it before and after, but they, of course, have to make their own choices. This quote, most of you will recognize, right from the Ogden City homepage. Okay. Unfortunately, that is not the view, particularly the local neighbors get anymore. Mr. Fredrickson used to have a view of Ben Lomond from his back patio. Now all he sees is the front of this huge building. Guiding principles, in short, I don't know why we have so much trouble learning. The Lorax was published in 1971, and as soon as I saw that, I thought, come on, people. Okay, so there are a couple things, and I don't believe, unfortunately with these kinds of things, once they're done, they're done. However, if you don't challenge them, then they will be done again and again and again. So that's why I believe in at least challenging these things. Those two pictures, the one on the right was the one the Standard published, the one on the left was another one I sent them. I took that at 11:45, and the other one at 8 p.m. the same day, the day before the long holiday weekend. An interesting coincidence. Okay. Those of you who know, if you want to get something done that you would never get approved, you do it right before a long holiday weekend for a host of reasons that I won't go into now. So is that a coincidence? I don't know.
Thank you.
Okay. There you go. Thank you. Oh, I will leave a full-size copy of the approved drawing with Bill, I guess, since that 8.5 by 11 is very hard to see.
My name is Don Fredrickson. I live on 3026 Polk Avenue, and that's the corner of Laurel and Polk, and directly to the north is this new housing program. And I think no one's objecting to the housing program, but the plans, as far as we know, have violated the approval that the public in that area was notified. The site plan that you see in green shows the trees that were to be left. Now, some of the neighbors, when they first seen them start tearing them down, went over and talked to the contractor and say, well, this is the only one we're going to take down. Well, I came home and 2 more were down. So my wife called Mr. Stewart, the forester, and he came up and stopped him for a little while until he went down to the city and found out that he claims anyway that they had permission to cut the rest of them down for various reasons. One being the root system was disturbed through construction. I went over and looked at them, And I'm no expert on tree roots, but I do know these sycamores are gigantic, wonderful, beautiful trees that are hardy and they don't blow down. Never. They might break a limb, but they were majestic. Been there for 50, 60 years, and now they're gone. It was a nice buffer between the new building, which is high in proportion to the surrounding community. And I don't really honestly think there was a good landscape architect on the job. If there was, he should be neutered. It is a rotten, unprofessional looking landscape activity. They could have left the earth the way it was, because it was bermed already, up high, the sidewalk was down low. It could have stayed that way. They tore it out, and for 3 or 4 days, trucks were hauling dirt out and wasting it when they could have left it for berming. And it wouldn't interfere with the trees. I talked to one of the planning directors this morning, and one of his comments were that ADA demanded some of that activity, which I don't believe. And I don't believe the access. I think there could have been 2 more trees that are shown in red along their left with proper planning. A good landscape architect could have made this a wonderful project and gave a better direction, because now we got a 2-story building, and then there's a rock buffering in front of the buildings. The earth could have stayed up and came out, which would have diminished the height of the building and left those wonderful trees.
Thank you, sir.
I am not, like I say, I'm not sure all of the activity, but when the Care Corporation was involved in it up front, I seen the plan, because it affects my home and about 3 others more so than a lot of the others. But the plans that I seen and went over, because one of the Care people wanted me to come to Planning Commission with them to voice my opinion as a yay for the project, which I would have. It has been changed drastically since then, and I have not heard when it went back through council for these major changes, especially tree removals.
Thank you. I believe we're going to have someone address a lot of these concerns after the public comment, so thank you.
Thanks.
Public comment. Okay.
We'd like to have Mr. Grover address it, and then maybe the mayor make a comment or 2 right after, if that's okay.
That would be great.
Chair, members of the council, we were disheartened, as well as the neighbors, when we came back and saw what had happened. When this plan was originally approved, it was approved as a conditional use. There were certain trees that were to be removed. There were certain trees that were to be preserved. There was a note in the building plan that if there was grading issues, they could possibly look at removing those, and that's the worst case scenario. The engineering department went out, and our urban forester, and they identified, what trees were to stay, because they were identified on the building plan, those trees that were to stay. And they discussed options of saving these trees. When they came back over the weekend, they noticed, obviously, as well as the community, that the trees were gone. And so our urban forester, he went out and looked at some of the grading that they had done in that area, and he noticed that there was a huge impact on the root structure of these trees. And because of that, they looked at removing some of them, but then when they were all removed, that went totally contrary to what our urban forester was trying to do. Our plans as I mentioned, the building plans talk about, and the plans that were approved by the Planning Commission, they looked at preserving these trees, and the worst case scenario was if they had to be removed, then that could happen, but only in the worst case situation. And we at this time do not feel that that had adequately happened. They hadn't went through the due diligence of removing these trees, and we are going to be meeting with the contractor in the city tomorrow to see what can be done to possibly even make a small dent into what has happened, because there's no way of replacing these sycamore trees. They were beautiful trees, and they created a nice streetscape. Also, when the Planning Commission approved this, they asked staff to work with the applicant on looking at other possible options of preserving more of the trees along the public street. And the building plans, it's a little bit different than what you have in your packet. The building plans actually have more of the trees right up along the street being preserved. And those were the trees that have been removed, because we wanted those preserved, because that was going to provide a buffer and a shield to that building for the residents in that area. If you were to look at even coming close to replacing those trees, it's going to take close to 35 years before they even start to make a really nice statement in that area, and close to 60 to 70 years before they really get back to where they were. And then you look at the lag time between now and in the future, and you go along Brigham City, and sycamore trees, the London plane tree, another name for them, is what creates a defining feature of Brigham City. When my little kid goes down Main Street, always says, "I'm going down a tree tunnel." These residents in this area, they will not be going down a tree tunnel. That is gone now. And if we replace those trees, like I said, it's going to take a long time before we can even come close to getting back to that. The ordinance does require that street trees are 2-inch caliper. When we meet with the petitioner on site tomorrow, we're going to be looking at much larger than 2-inch caliper to even come close, but we do run into some obstacles with the park strip area and getting the root ball in that section. The larger the tree is, there's a little bit more of an adjustment time. When we do put in these larger trees, there is going to be some shock that's going to happen with those trees. It's going to take about a year for them to fully get rooted in and get going. So that's an issue that our urban forester is going to be looking at when we do look at replacement. The trees will be replaced, but obviously it doesn't even come close to what's happened.
Okay. I'll make a couple quick comments to address this as well. We're 26 years, I believe, Jay, is that correct? Running as Tree City USA designation. And this is very important to us. When I heard about it, I drove by today on my lunchtime so I could look at it myself, and I was very concerned with how it went and how it looked. We talked about it in department directors meeting today. We're looking at things like an ordinance change so that it makes it that much more difficult to do this in the future. And we're also willing to withhold the occupancy permit for that building until we feel they've adequately addressed the dramatic change in that landscape and made it as whole as possible. I believe with Rick, there's no way to replace 50 or 60 years of old growth in there, but there are some things they can do to really address that and aggressively try and make that correct. So that's on us now and on our planning and administration department to go in and do that. So appreciated the quote you had at the end. I don't blame people for their mistakes, but I do ask that they pay for them. We're going to look at ways to make them pay for this and do everything we can to get it back to whole. So appreciate your patience. We're heartbroken about this as well. I can tell you nobody's more heartbroken than Jay. He is the Lorax of Ogden City, and we take it very seriously. So give us a chance to work through some of these. We appreciate you coming, letting your voices be heard and letting us know about your concerns. That's how we make sure that action's taken, and we'll keep an eye on it.
If I can comment, I appreciate that. I did speak to Forster Monty. I don't know it, so I don't know if he was really stuck on the rock. What I'm really interested in
We are too.
Pretty good ideas.
We are too, and we're gonna do a deep dive with it and make sure we figure that out.
Could I make one more comment? Put this on the thing.
Comment. Is it okay?
It's okay.
The original concept that was shown to the neighbors showed very plainly that Laurel was to come in like this to a 90 degree and then tie back into Polk. Now that was going to be done so that would be one stop sign instead of we have two stop signs and one yield. Now, Polk is a through street. Laurel isn't, and there's a stop sign there. By doing this, it eliminates a lot of traffic problems, which nobody coming up Laurel stops, only the bus. And that would eliminate a lot of traffic problem, plus it would have gave the developer a lot more space right here to work out his problems in sidewalks and to save probably 2 more trees. Anyway,
Thank you, sir. What we'll do is we'll have the city meet with you, and we're going to go over this really thoroughly with everybody.
If you guys will give your contact information to Mr. Grover, he'll contact you after tomorrow's meeting.
Any other comments from administration?
Well, Mr. Gullis here, I'll offer my gratitude and thanks for Hot Rock and Forth and everything you guys do for that. I'm looking forward to next week's tournament, and you're a great cheerleader for Ogden City, and we appreciate that.
Comments from council staff?
Only to note that no meetings for the next 2 weeks, July 16th and 23rd. The next meeting will be on July 30th.
And comments from council members?
I was livid when I saw what happened with the trees. I'd been out of town for a few days, and I live just around the corner, and livid probably isn't the right word for it. I think we need to have the developer put the biggest trees they can purchase in there. And I also think maybe some enhancements to the landscaping so that it does screen it, because those trees were what shielded the neighbors from that big new development, and that has an impact on their property values, on their views. And the trees kind of buffered it a little bit, and now that they're gone, it has completely changed the character of that neighborhood. And so I think we need to hold their toes to the fire. Living around the corner from where that construction was occurring, all winter they had trailers parked on Polk. They couldn't plow around them. We ended up with big piles of snow and things. They just really haven't been good neighbors, and I think we need to hold their toes to the fire. So that's just my opinion on it.
Thank you. Yeah. We have also asked, to work with the administration on a proposal that would put some penalties in place for contractors. There are other cities who do this. This is not a new thing. As you even mentioned, 1971 is when the Lorax made this quote that you're mentioning. But we're asking for, to look at different ways of even enticing the contractors not to do this. And by that I mean, if there's a very large fee or penalty for taking these out, we want to look at those type of things and see what is available so that it encourages contractors to be a little more careful going forward in other projects. We don't ever want this to happen again.
I think we're all heartsick. I mean, everybody just is devastated the city included as well as the council. So we do understand what a devastation that is to your street, the neighborhood, and to our community.
And they were challenged 4 times that day.
I'll just throw in my comment. I mean, of course, it's absolutely awful, and thank you, administration, for, responding with an ordinance, and I hope part of the process can be reaching out to the neighborhood as well. So.
Motion to adjourn.
We have a motion to adjourn from Councilmember Heyer and a second from Councilmember Wicks. This is a voice vote. All in favor?
Aye.
A city council work session will be held in the council workroom following the special meeting. The purpose of the work session is to discuss the sewer and water utility revenue bonds.
Thank you.